Greetings, everybody. Welcome to, look at my little bit of a skew whiff. Episode, where are we? 31 of Relentless. It's wonderful to be here on a Friday night. Not the usual night, but it's great to be here. So I'm super excited this evening to have a wonderful Relentless guest. I was introduced to this guest by the Light newspaper, and I think people should be looking out for an interview with this gentleman. His name is Nathan Francis, and he is the podcaster of Breaking Free podcast. So let me add Nathan to the stage and say hello. Hi, Nathan. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this tonight. So, yeah, let's get into it, I reckon.
Absolutely. So as I just mentioned to everybody, you have a podcast called Breaking Free. People can find that on YouTube. There's all sorts of links in the descriptions for everybody. You're a teacher, an author, a self-sabotage coach, which I'm thoroughly interested in. As I mentioned, your podcast. So I really thank you for joining me this evening. And just for everybody, Nathan is in Queensland. So if I don't know if that relates to your podcast, but if you haven't subscribed to Nathan's podcast on YouTube, you should go ahead and do that. Right. So, Nathan, we usually start off Relentless with my little section called a Reprobate Corner. Hi, Martin. How you going? Hey, okay, Joe. Hi, Jan. How are you? So before we get going, I'm going to move us to the side and we're going to have a look at Reprobate Corner and see who is there this week.
We had a pretty good indication at the weekend that the voters of New South Wales rejected the idea of a voice to Parliament. Why would you still pursue an idea that the voters rejected at the federal level?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things here. I mean, I don't think that people of New South Wales or Australia rejected progress when it comes to Aboriginal reconciliation or closing the metrics or even closing down discussions and communications between the government and First Nations people. They didn't vote for that. And what they did vote against, completely acknowledge this, is the referendum for a constitutionally enshrined voice to Parliament. We're going to engage with First Nations people. We've got a mandate in place to begin the process of treaty. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a very difficult process. It's been ongoing for many years in other states and jurisdictions around the country. So, but we've got a mandate to do it and we're going to progress it.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about,
Right, so that video there is brought to you by one of my favourite independent content creators, Australians versus the Agenda, and of course he was talking there about New South Wales mandating the voice treaty anyway. I like his excuse or reasoning that the Australian public voted against the voice in the referendum. If you were watching my show last night, I was talking about fifth generational warfare, and that our minds are the battlefield, and that they're using the Overton window, particularly in the voice, to introduce these things like the treaty. Things that were previously unacceptable now become acceptable. And what we can see here clearly with the New South Wales government, and there's a couple others as well, is that despite us voting no, they can provide their reasoning, and everybody's already adjusted. Their minds have made something acceptable where they mandate a treaty. So New South Wales government, you are in reprobate corner this week because you don't care about the people, as if we didn't know that anyway.
Well, yeah.
What do you reckon, Nathan?
Oh, I don't think they've ever given a shit about us, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think Max Egan's right when he says that they're farming lambs and we're just in the slaughterhouse. You know, we break free and take back our power, and that's how we break free from the slaughterhouse. You know, I've completely turned my back on the government stuff. I didn't even vote in the voice referendum. I haven't voted in an election for 3 years. I don't participate in the system. So that's how I see it. The more people that don't vote, more people that say no and stand up, the sooner this is all over, and that's our power.
Yep, 100%. Yep. So there you go. That's Reprobate Corner. These people who do things, telling everybody that they have a particular outcome which they say is beneficial for humanity, and yet it all is not the case. So Nathan, can you just, before we move on to the things we want to talk about, I mentioned in the intro that you're a teacher, author, you're a self-sabotage coach, you have your podcast. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and how you came to do your podcast and how you've made your transformation?
Oh, well, mine started at the start of 2020 when all this stuff happened with the virus, right, that didn't really exist. I sort of this intuition came online. I was like, well, there's something not right here with what they're telling us. And I just finished watching a Jeffrey Epstein documentary in March of 2020. It was on Netflix. It might still be on there, but it's heavily edited now. When it first came out, there was just something inside that I had to watch this documentary. So I flicked it on, and the very next day, a few of your listeners might know who Dale Holmes is. He was a mate of mine. I went to uni with him. I did a university placement with him a few years prior to COVID starting, and he woke me up to the genetically modified corn and microwave food and stuff. So I was already sort of on the path, but I was still doing my thing, which I'll talk about later, which was eating, drinking, and doing all those things that self-sabotage. But we'll talk about this first. And when I watched that documentary, at the end of it, they said it's a worldwide scale operation, the child trafficking network. And I was like, well, I need to find out more about this. Something inside, intuition, call it whatever you believe. But for me, it was like a voice inside, a voice in the back of my head was like, you need to go down this path. So I saw Dale the next day in our local sports store. My brother was with me, and we were hugging and shaking hands, and people looking at us going, oh, we're supposed to be in a pandemic, and these two are shaking hands. It's like, well, yeah, anyway, we're just doing our thing. And I said to him, mate, I've been looking at what you're posting. Like, I just watched that Jeffrey Epstein doco. What can you tell me about Australia's involvement in this? And he told me he said, just read the testimonies of these three people, Rachel Vaughan, Fiona Barnett, and Rena Michelson. I went home straight away and read those testimonies, and I was done. Like, it just all made sense. What they were doing to us, they did to them in underground tunnels and all sorts of stuff. Like, this stuff is like super, super evil. And it just all made sense. Like, when I figured out it was judges and lawyers and politicians and celebrities, and it just went on and on and on. Went down all the rabbit holes from there, the food being sprayed with poison, our air, our sky. I went through every single rabbit hole. Went back to even history and how even that's a lie. And once I uncovered that every single thing out there in the world is a lie, I was like, well, shit. Everything that I've known to be true, well, I've been programmed to believe is true as a lie.
That's right. Your perception of reality explodes.
Yeah, my perception of reality was changing before my eyes. But then I was forced to go inward, and my perception of myself was starting to change, which was then the self-sabotage journey. So I learned all the truths of the world first, and then I went inward to learn my own. And my God, was my own an interesting journey, which I'm still unpacking now, but we're 3 years into it now.
That I really like how you put that you discover the things outward and then you go inward. And I really hope that this show, my hope for this show is that people take their power back. And it's not necessarily to do with the government, but for ourselves, because we always talk about being under attack. We particularly talk about a spiritual attack, particularly at the moment. And we often forget about ourselves. I know I sure do. And I'm really busy being very active, doing things around me for other people, for other things. And yet ourselves, I think we often forget about that. So I really like what you said there, that you found things out there and then you went inward. And that's my real hope for this show, is that people take their power back and they try to find a way to live their life with a better purpose and realizing other things anyway, but we'll get into that. So that's fantastic. How did you come to do your podcast? So we've just heard a little bit of a story there about you and your kind of awakening, I guess, if you want to term it that. How did you come to start doing your podcast?
Good. That's a good question. I actually haven't shared how this came about yet, so I'm very grateful to be able to share it. I was watching Max Egan, my mate Dale, and a lot of the other truthers talk during my awakening. I was like, well, getting the vision, it's like, well, I can do this too. And I have a voice as well. So I was watching them going, I can do that as well. So I was already thinking about eventually being interviewed on platforms like this, speaking my stuff. So then I was like, well, I was scared of that. I was scared of speaking up because I had an inner child there that was told that he should be writing about kicking goals and being a hero. I used to write in primary school about kicking footy goals after the siren, being James Hird. I loved Essendon Footy Club. The whole supplements, Essendon Asada stuff ruined that for me. That was probably the start of me going against the establishment, was learning about what the AFL was really doing and what the government and then all the layers on top of the layers to the AFL stuff. But that 6-year-old version of Nath was told that he shouldn't be writing about that stuff. He should fall in line. He should be writing about information reports and all sorts of different shit that I wasn't interested in. So that sort of shut me off from ever speaking and writing what I wanted to write and speak about. So when I went away and did an inner child work on my friend's table called Gina, who's an awesome woman, hopefully she'll watch this, maybe the recording. I was on her table and I went back to this child and I said, that's one person's perception of who you can be. There's 6 billion people on earth. If 2 or 3 people resonate with you, your job's done. And that kid was validated. So I went away and wrote my book in 6 weeks. I have a book coming out soon called Breaking Free, a teens and young adults guide to overcoming their addictions or identifying and overcoming their addictions. I put my stuff in there. I put why people do what they do and the tools that helped me at that time. I've got more now. And then it's like, well, that book wrote itself in 6 weeks. And then it's like, okay, I can start speaking now. Well, how can I start speaking? I want to start a podcast. So I had a few friends in the self-sabotage coaching community that Jason created that started one. So I met a buddy in America called Tanner who'll watch this too. He's a really awesome dude. We do a lot of podcasts together. He helped me start it. The Breaking Free podcast was launched. My brother was my very first guest on the show this time last year, actually. 12 months in, 62 episodes now. And I've gotten better at it each time I've done it. And I've always healed something on the show too. Like a guest will say something and I'm currently sitting in, and I've cried live on air a few times because they've said something that hit home to me. And I just go, I got nothing to add there. And you can see it, like it's hit me. And then, so I've sort of grown up on the show. Like I've been very, very vulnerable on this podcast. And I think I'm meant to be. And it's been a really awesome ride, and I'm keen for the rest of it. So, if anyone's interested, there's plenty of episodes there. Some solo ones. You can learn about me and my brother's story, which is another story in itself on top of this story. So there's plenty of layers to my journey through that podcast, and I'm very grateful that I was able to start it. And now I'm 12 months in, and, it's been an incredible ride. So, there you go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, just before the show, I said to Nathan that I was binge watching his podcasts today. Really, really, really interesting. And as I said, if you're a person that is really focused on everything that's going on around you at the moment and trying to stand up, have a voice, and be proactive, don't forget about yourself. And that's what I really learnt, or it reminded me today when I was binge watching your stuff is remember yourself. We need to remember ourselves. And so you just mentioned your book, and the words have been flung out there a few times about self-sabotage, and you're a self-sabotage coach. I do have a short video here. Now, it is from Jason Christoph. Could you just briefly tell everybody who Jason Christoph is?
Yeah, I can. I can tell you the story of how I found him too, because that's a very powerful story as well, if you've got a couple of minutes. It's a very quick story.
Yeah.
So I quit alcohol in the 2021 AFL Grand Final when Melbourne beat the Bulldogs. That was my last night of drinking. I looked myself in the mirror and said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not fucking around. Like, I was a bit of a womanizer fuckboy for a while. We can talk about that as well. And I said to myself, I'm not doing this anymore. There's something more here for me to do. I didn't know what it was. But it's like, there's something bigger here. And I looked at myself in the mirror and said, you're not doing this anymore. Like, I quit this. Tonight, that's the last night. The next day, I was hungover. I did drugs for the last time. Like, I hit it pretty hard for that last night. And I was laying in bed. That was the worst I've ever felt. And I knew I wasn't going to feel like that again. And I'm laying in bed. And then Adrian Domenico dropped his podcast with Jason Christoph, who Dale actually said to Adrian, you should interview Jason. So that dropped on the Sunday morning. I'm watching this podcast, right? And Jason's reeling off self-sabotage stuff. He's talking about negative thinking. I went, tick, alcohol, tick, people-pleasing, tick, attracting women that were not meant for me, that were the tick. Like, I went through every single thing and I was like, I'm the king of this. So I emailed him and said, mate, I'm the king of self-sabotage. How can I start unpacking this stuff? He gave me some free advice and then he opened his coaching school and that was it. I was like, I need to do this, not only for myself, but then to help others overcome their stuff, because this is why we're all where we are in terms of the world and our own world. Like, we are the ones holding ourselves back from taking back that exact power that we're talking about. It's us holding ourselves back. And as soon as I learned that, I was like, this is like, I was the king of this stuff. Like, I was the king of self-sabotage. I did everything that I could to sabotage anything good in my life. And when I came across Jason, well, that was it. I just started learning how powerful our minds are and how they're programmed to be this way.
Yeah, I think that's great what you just said. We're holding ourselves back. So I'm just going to bring us over to the side again. This video is called Why We Have Crappy Lives. So, I just stick with it, guys. I think
it's a good video.
It really is. So let's.
It's a ripper, yeah.
And play this.
When we live a shitty life, that's all we're programmed to seek. We live what we learn. And if we've learned from the media and from our parents that life is always about stepping into one bucket of shit and then quickly jumping out into two more, then that becomes our life. Seeking disaster becomes so much of our neurological programming at that point that when a good partner comes by, a good job, a good time, a good life, or a good day, we end up destroying it because we don't have any experience with anything good. Due to our seek what we know programming, and given that all we know is complete disaster, the only script we carry, the only thing we're familiar with, the only thing we're comfortable with, the only thing that smells familiar is disease, death, destruction, dysfunction, disorientation, and deficit across all levels. When we don't understand our own behavior or the part of our mind that develops our future for us, all we do is end up running east looking for a sunset or rearranging the furniture on the deck of the Titanic. As the great Alan Watts said, it quickly becomes all retch and no vomit. It never gets there. If you have this programming, you'll pick beer when offered water, you'll pick TV when offered a book, you'll pick the troll when offered a prince, you'll pick a mindless job when offered a business, you'll pick slavery when offered freedom, you'll pick toxic medications when offered a gym membership, and you'll pick the born loser when you're offered a princess. You will constantly pick disaster as a matter of course, and you'll think it's fate, bad luck, bad star alignment, Mercury in retrograde, bad genes, bad timing, and that the world is simply aligned against you. But you're in fact only aligned against yourself, and always will be unless you start understanding how we constantly build our old house inside our new house. What that means is that we will always recreate the emotional atmosphere in our current life that washed over us as children in our early years. Hurt people hurt people. And the first people that hurt people hurt are themselves.
So there's a few things there that really jumped out to me. We're attracted to things that smell familiar. That really jumped out at me. We're afraid of change. We're aligned against ourselves, and so this concept of self-sabotage. Perhaps for people that don't know what that is, what is self-sabotage, Nathan?
I believe it's a state of vibration that we're all put in as soon as we fly out of the womb. We're literally programmed in the womb. Like our environment from the ages of 0 to 7 impacts on how we live our lives. And they know that. The people that are putting this on the TV and stuff, they know how powerful this part of the mind is. Between the ages of 0 and 7, if your parents drank, you drink. If your parents smoked, you smoked. We bond with our parent. Like, we want to bond with them. And when we see them coming home after a shitty day and cracking open a bottle of beer or having a couple of durries or getting a fight with mum or dad, then we're going to do that as we go on in our lives because we deem those familiar and safe inside of our own psyche. Because whatever's deemed familiar and safe inside our own psyche is a subconscious program that you're just going to go and do without the conscious awareness of it. It's like people that drink alcohol, their parents drank alcohol, but then they'll pick up one or two more things to bond with their parent. Because at the end of the day, we're pack animals too. And then we surround ourselves with people that do the exact same things we do. Because of that subconscious programming and because of that, I guess, what do you want to call it? Law of attraction. Then you're in that state of vibration where you're attracting in those sort of people. So if you're in a state of fear, you're in a state of those dark vibrations, low vibrations, and they're the people you're attracting in. You up your vibration. You work on yourself and work on your emotions, and you're attracting in people of the same nature. That's how this works. But self-sabotage, though, self-sabotage is why you do the things you do. And it's basically why you're sabotaging yourself from being something better than where you currently are. Like, I sabotaged my own relationships with women because I was scared of love. I was scared of having someone beside me, so I would just sleep around. So I would sabotage a good woman coming into my life by kissing their best friend, by ghosting them, doing those things that the young males are doing right now in the world. I did those things too. I sabotaged good opportunities in my life because I had a subconscious program, like I said before, that I wasn't worthy of those things. So I subconsciously blocked myself from being something better until I went back and gained the conscious awareness and worked out where the root cause was. And it was that inner child, that teacher telling me that I shouldn't be writing about AFL and Essendon and James Hird and being a hero. There it is.
Yeah, it's I mean, we started off talking a little bit about programming, and there's this of course we all know that we're programmed in one way or another, and particularly on my channel I spend a lot of time because I don't like mainstream media, and I spend a lot of time talking about the infiltration in our minds, the programming that we receive from MSM. But within our own lives, and when we're talking about ourselves, when we want to achieve something, we often have this fear or afraid of change or to be better, and then we end up doing things which actually restrict us achieving what we actually want. And this is the self-sabotaging kind of behaviors that we unconsciously incorporate into our lives, and that's the real struggle, I think, with people, is that it most of it is unconscious unless we recognize this kind of self-sabotaging behavior and know what it is. We're deemed to just repeat it. It's just this kind of cycle of self.
You love it how you said repeat. This part of the mind loves repetition. So if lying, cheating, and stealing is repetitively on your TV screen, on your phone, then if that's a repetition thing from the ages of 0 to 7, so if your parents were watching soap operas and their lives are full of drama, lying, cheating, and stealing, then that's the program they're running with from watching The Young and the Restless or Bold and the Beautiful or any of these soap operas. Like, these TV shows are not TV shows. They're not there for your entertainment. It's called a program for a reason. Like, I'll go personal here. So I used to watch American Pie, right? I used to watch Charlie and 2.5 Men and Stifler in American Pie. I think you can see where my programming's come from, this sleeping around stuff. They're programmed as like they have money, they have power, and they're kings, right? Charlie has the lakes, has the beach house in LA. If anyone watched 2.5 Men, I thought that's what it took to be a king, to treat women the way he did, to have a revolving door of women. I had that. I watched that when I was like 14.
Yeah.
I watched Stifler in American Pie talking about all his conquests. I did that in my 20s. That was my repetition programming.
Yeah.
And yes, Martin, I was a black sheep in the family. But my family have now come across the other side.
A really interesting comment to explain the black sheep of the family, because I think I said this a couple of nights ago. I've always been kind of a rebel, if you like. That's what the label would have been for me. And I really never had a problem standing aside from the herd. You know, I didn't care. Well, I did when I was younger, but it never really bothered me so much that, you know, people would ridicule me and so on and so forth. I think that's a really important comment there, Martin. You know, explain the backstreet of your family. So if you're surrounded by, you know, the examples with smoking, drinking, if you're watching, you know, this abhorrent behavior on TV, which MSM and all these soap operas and all the rest of it want to program people, you know, how do we explain, I don't know if it's going to be a rhetorical question, but how do we explain the black sheep of the family? Does that, you know, where does that come from? You know, there's got to be some kind of inner strength or something which has been
well,
presented.
you want to delve into the soul journey. Well, that was their sole purpose, to be that. Like, they chose that experience. We choose our experiences through the soul journey. I don't know where you want to go here, but the black sheep of the family could very well be their soul journey if you want to go deep into it. But with the black sheep of the family, it's like, well, there's heaps of them. They could have ADHD. They could have all these labels that they've been put on them through the school system, where they need to fall in line with everyone else and they need to conform and be a part of the military style based training that the school system is. So then I have a different view of these labels, but I think that this black sheep thing is just, they're not following the main, like they're not following, they're not following the herd, they're not falling in line.
Yeah.
They're not,
So,
they're just a bit different. They're not really different, but society deems them as different.
They've just got more of a brain than other people. Did I say that out loud? Martin's on fire tonight. Self-sabotage is an unconscious belief that we aren't worthy, deserving, etc., etc.
I pretty much said that.
Yeah, well, that was my question, is why do people do this to themselves?
I believe it starts in the school system. I believe that's where your best life goes to die. I honestly do believe that with the school system. Like, you just look at the last 3 years. I'm going to use this as an example. So in school, right, you got to raise your hand to speak. So you can't even have the freedom of free speech. You got to raise your hand and then you might even get picked to speak. So you just sit there and don't say anything. That's the throat chakra gone. If you want to talk about chakra systems, I don't know how deep you want to go here, right? Yeah. Then you're putting your hand up and going, "Miss, can I go to the toilet? Can I get a drink? Can I leave the room?" You're asking permission to be free. What happened 3 years ago when this thing came out? Daddy, government, I want my freedoms back. Well, I'll do anything. I'll even take an experimental toxic poison in my left and right arm just to be free again. Yep. You are free. And the school system programs you to believe that you're not, but you are. And you're sovereign and you're free. But it starts in the school system. If it wasn't for the school system, we wouldn't be in any of this mess. You know what I mean? You have an authority figure up the front. This is MK Ultra mind control technique right here. You have the teacher up the front, and you're raising and you're looking up at them. When an hypnotist puts someone under and they cluck like a chicken, what's the first thing they get them to do? Look up. You're looking up at an authority figure. What did everyone do during COVID when you had Dan Andrews or Scott Morrison or someone standing up the front? You're looking up at them because they're on the podium, right? And they love the blue and red colors. Blue and red are fear colors. They go back to ancient times. It's the reason why the sirens are red and blue. When you see a red and blue siren in the rear vision mirror, what's the first thing that comes up? It's fear. Oh, shit, what have I done? Am I sped? Am I drunk? Am I high? What are they pulling me over for? Instant fear. They have the red and blue tie on. I'm wearing a red shirt tonight, but this is to empower people. This is a red shirt, not to put you in fear. This is to empower. These are powerful colors, red and blue, and they know that. If you go back and look at every press conference from these people, I guarantee they have a red or blue tie on, or they have a blue suit on with a red tie. Why do you think 7 and 9 news are all red and blue? These are powerful mind control colors. They are MK Ultraing you, and that's MK Ultra for those that have gone down that rabbit hole.
Well,
And the
also,
school system are looking up at authority.
all the fast food places are also red and blue or yellow, but yeah, mainly red and blue. Yeah, it's very interesting then, talking about that sort of thing. And I think particularly people know that, and then the awakening that people talk about, in particular over the past 3 years that people have had, you know, I find it really interesting that we struggle. I'm going to go back to ourselves, within ourselves again. We really struggle within ourselves to acknowledge what's going on. And not everybody has this self-sabotaging behavior, but we really struggle to recognize when something is going on within ourselves. But it's really quite remarkable that the situation that's happened over the past 3 years has really caused a mass awakening. I'm only so many years old. I can't talk for, so many other generations.
Years young. Don't say years old.
Yeah. There's certainly nothing in the history books that could ever, I don't think, could surmount to the kind of awakening that we've had over the past 3 years. And, particularly acknowledging the programming outside us, has been really significant.
Well, if it wasn't for the COVID period, I would still be chasing women in nightclubs, getting drunk, acting like a child, and not ever taking the step forward to become an adult. So I'm very grateful for the whole period. And I know a lot of people wouldn't view that as a time to be grateful for, but I believe that our movement should be grateful for that period, because if it wasn't for this period, I wouldn't have gone within to learn my own truths. I wouldn't be even on this platform talking to you right now. It's Friday night, yeah? I would be in the pub right now with my mates, carrying on like a child, trying to find my route for the night. And I'm not even joking when I say that.
Yep.
So I'm grateful for this whole period. I really am. I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for the COVID period.
Yep.
So I've got nothing but gratitude for it.
100%. So we've just talked about, what self-sabotage is, because, maybe people don't know what that is, and to trying to think about it. Oh, I think I heard about it. It's a whole long story anyway. I won't talk about it. But anyway, so it's a really long story.
You can on my show. I'll interview you and you can talk about it on my show.
That'd be great, because we've got other things to talk about right now. But, and why we do it. We were talking about schooling and programming and those sorts of things. Can you give people some examples of self-sabotage behavior? Can you give people examples of this?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to go personal or just go generalization? Because I tend to just go personal. I tend to just go personal. I really do. My biggest form of self-sabotage was watching pornography, and I'll openly admit that now. I was exposed to porn at like 8 or 9 years old, and I watched that stuff for 20 years. I only just broke free from it in the last 12 months.
Holy shit balls! I wasn't going to swear.
Well, when anything dark was going on in my life, I'm talking death in the family, which I now have learned that death in the family is just souls crossing over. And I actually tapped into some awesome relatives of mine. Deaths in the family, all the things, right? First heartbreak, all those things. I went straight to porn.
Right.
And that's what I would do. Or as I got a bit older, it would be drinking and then sleeping around. But porn was always the one that was there. And it was easy to cut alcohol and cut all these things. But porn was just the one thing I just could not break.
Right.
I couldn't break it. The only way I could break that was going back to when I first started watching it and understanding why I was feeling the way I was. And I learned that I was the Usain Bolt Olympic sprinter running away from myself, my pain, my darkness, and my life. And
Wow.
that's why I watch porn. When I moved up here to the sunny coast, Queensland, I had a lot of stuff come up, and I went back to porn again. This is in the last 3 months, and it's like the lesson was there. It's like you got to stop running now. And I often say to the boys out there to stop running because I was running. Like when I quit all the stuff, I would then go and literally run. Like I was exercising excessively as well. That's not a form of self-sabotage. I was still running away. I used that instead.
Yeah.
So for me, I sabotaged myself by watching porn. Like I knew how bad it was. I knew they were trafficked. I knew that it wasn't real sex. I knew it wasn't real connection. I knew it wasn't real love.
Yep.
I knew that. But I was still watching it anyway because I was drawn to it because I was operating out of my base root chakra, sacral chakra. As soon as I upped my vibration, as soon as I learnt why I was running and just dealt with the child that was exposed to this porn and sat with him and cried with him, it's like, well, I don't need to watch porn anymore. Because my life has instantly gotten better since I stopped watching it. This opportunity came from and then it's like you learn about semen retention and nofap and tantric and all these ancient modalities. It's like if that thing that shoots out of me can birth a life or help create a life, then if I hold on to that and not explode it into the sheets, into tissues, then can't that create my life and give me energy to create mine? Well, yes, it can. That's your life force energy, men out there. You should be retaining that and holding on to it because that's powerful energy. You're just shooting out, watching porn or whatever. It's like if you want to release, do it naturally. Go and have sexual intercourse and you can release naturally. I have developed this semen retention this retention stuff, and it's completely transformed my life. I wouldn't have the confidence to speak about this now if I wasn't for that.
Yeah.
This is what all men should be doing. We should be, if we're not trying to create a new life in terms of a child, then we should be holding on to that, creating our lives, and that's our power. For men, we shouldn't be just releasing this into our sheets, into our socks, into our tissues. We should be retaining this and transmuting it through our body to then tap into our higher power. Because the energy I have now, I can get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and go to the gym. I can still sit here now at 9:30 at night in Queensland and still be full of energy when I was up at 4 a.m. this morning.
I'm a lady, but the only thing that crosses my mind you talking about that is when they talk about athletes like boxers and all these sorts of things, and they don't have sex for a period of time before they're going to fight or before they're going to do whatever it is they have to do as a professional athlete. Is that something to do with that? I'm just trying to make some connections.
Well, Mike Tyson has openly said that he never had sex before a fight for like 6 weeks prior, and Muhammad Ali was the same.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they were doing that.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be distracted by beautiful women. They also wanted to hold on to their powerful energy that's inside their balls.
Very interesting.
And transmit that through the body. It is. And when I learned about this, I interviewed a guy called Nakula Das on my podcast. I encourage all men to go back and watch that. And then I had him on a roundtable. My latest podcast episode was a men's roundtable. I talked about my own journey with this with him and his journey too. And all men should watch that men's roundtable and learn about this stuff because that's our power for men. It really is.
Wow.
We should just be shooting this off into the sheets watching porn. We're better than that. We came here for better than that. We're leaders. We're creators. We're builders, right? We can't be building, leading, and creating if we're sleeping around, drinking alcohol, smoking, vaping, gambling, treating women like shit like I used to. It's like we don't need to do that anymore. We're men, right? We're supposed to be the ones that are standing up to all this shit. Well, if you look at the last 3 years, I saw a lot of women standing up.
Yeah.
My husband, he wanted to keep his job, so he stayed home.
Yeah.
Come on, we're better than that. We're better than that.
Yes. It's a little bit disappointing. But
my age group just couldn't see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
They were too busy wanting their freedom back, so they were lining up, trying to get back in the pub as quickly as they could.
Yeah.
How's that going for them now, though?
It's a little disappointing, that's for sure. Martin, yes, that's what I've heard as a lady. I said.
Mm.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I don't know. Maybe I might have to get a fella on and we can revisit that because that's very interesting. But this self-sabotaging behaviour and why we do it and all those sorts of things. And you were talking about when you were younger and so on and so forth.
Because we're scared.
Yeah, and a really big thing about that, trying to unpack it and going backwards.
Well, if you look at how the programming works, if you see someone standing up being something great, the Australian way is to trim the tall poppy. Like we're always so quick to trim the tall poppies of the ones that are out there doing things that are great, right? We always want to knock them down. So what does that mean for everyone else?
I think that's a really great intro, that tall poppy and trying to knock people down. I just want to play for everybody a short film. I think it's about 4 minutes long, and it's called Children, and it's from a Japanese short film maker. His name is Takuya Okada. Maybe
You
I'll
just had
put
a
it
quick
on.
question come up. I wouldn't mind answering it. They said, what about de-stressing or for your partner? Well, there are some interesting techniques in terms of breath work that you can you can pleasure. Like if you meditate with your partner, she's your way inclined. You can both meditate. You can both do deep breathing. Men can have non-ejaculatory sex. Men can rub their genitals, like their balls, and they can get a lot of testosterone straight through their body, a lot of energy. So there's that question answered for Patricia.
Interesting. Good question. Wow. I feel like there's a whole load of other shows we could do here.
Well, we've been lied to about everything, and sex is another one. Sex is a sacred thing between man and woman, masculine and feminine. Sex isn't a one-night stand, never speaking to someone again. That's not real sex. That's lust. We're here for love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, thought I'd answer that. Hopefully I answered your question, Patricia. Thank you for asking that.
So again, we have Martin. Tall Poppy is designed to keep everybody on the poverty line level playing field. I'm going to move us over. I'm going to play this, and I hope people get from it where I'm trying to take us all.
All right. I can't hear you.
I turned my mic off. I always
There
do
we
that
go.
because I have visitors. Yeah, I wanted to play that for everybody because particularly with the school system, I know there's a few comments here about depression and it being a bit creepy, yes, but I think it makes a really great point, and it's not about depression, but it's about the programming, the way of behaviorally controlling people emotionally, socially. You become emotionally numb. You know, we saw at the end that little child, you know, not only did they have no voices with the zips, but at the end, you know, he was hit by the train to save the dog, and then he laughed at the end because he wasn't familiar with feelings and emotions and something which we would deem traumatic, hurtful, painful. That child's response was laughter because we are emotionally numb through the school system. That video is so disturbing and yet profound when I watched that, and I really wanted to play it, particularly while we're talking, Nathan, about self-sabotage, how that comes back to traumatic experiences when you're children, and how we are grown adults and we're trying to understand ourselves. What are your thoughts after watching that, Nathan?
That's an interesting video. I haven't seen that before. So that was really powerful. I might share that on my circles. Really good video. But I just see it as like, it just makes sense to the whole school system, right? Doesn't it? Because it's where your best self and your best life goes down the shitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like they want you to like, I see the school system like there's a reason why they want you writing resumes instead of writing business plans. There's a reason, because you're building someone else's dream. You're not building your own.
Wow. Yep. Wow.
They don't have entrepreneurs coming in. They don't have other people coming in to help the students to work out how they want to start their own business. No, we'll just have a careers expo. So you just go and pick your job, and then we'll have the unis come in, so the schools get kickbacks for how many kids go to uni. It's like when I was in year 10.
Wow.
When I was in year 10, I did an alternative school. It wasn't even a school; it was a sports school. I did CEDA, the Sports Education Development Australia program. I did that, and for me to do that, the school that I went to, the senior school, would get however many students they get enrolled from the current school I was at. They would get kickbacks. So I had a meeting with the careers pathway person. This is a perfect story that sums all this up. I was sitting across from her and she goes, "Why are you going to CEDA for?" I said, "Well, I'm passionate about sport. I love my sport. I don't like the mainstream." I said, I don't enjoy school. She's like, "Well, you're going to senior." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to CEDA." Then they rang up my parents and just tried to like get me to go to this senior high school. I said no. And I had the best 3 years of this CEDA program. Like I learned so much, and I wouldn't have gotten into the uni. This is back when I was programmed that uni was the way out of things. I wouldn't have gotten into the uni course that I did had I not done that. But it's just like the whole system. It's like they want you staying in the system. They don't want you to, go and do something great. They want you just to write a resume and go to uni for 5 to 10 years or 6 years or 4 years or however long it is now, and then just be a cog in the system and do something you hate for 60 years. Like, look at how many people now have hated what they're doing and are still hating what they're doing.
Yep.
Because they don't know any other way. Because in school they were taught, and their parents were taught, that go to school, go to uni, earn this amount of money, have all this shiny shit that you don't need, and then die. And when you die, none of that shiny shit you bought's worth anything anyway. And a lot of people lay on their deathbed and they're looking their family members in the eye. This is what's happening. And they're going, I should have done this, I could have done that, I would have done that, should have, could have, would have, didn't.
Yep.
And then they're sitting in all this regret and all this hate for themselves that they could have been something great, but they weren't. And they cross over and then they go, oh, geez, I got to come back and do it all again. Well, yeah, you do got to come back and do it all again. So why not make this one life you have now count and do that thing you wanted to do? I went away and wrote a book because I wanted to do that. But I had to deal with the emotions involved in that inner child and go, you know what? That version of Nath, that little child's validated now. So if you are listening to this and you want to be something great, go away and do that. You get one shot. Well, actually, you get multiple chances, but in this life, you get one shot. Why not make it count and do something great? Why would put yourself in this position? Would you rather look at your family members in the eye, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and say, you know what? I could have been something great, but I let fear get in the way. I let my own emotions, my own fear get in the way of being something awesome. And now I'm crossing over full of regret. Well, how about you flip the script and you say this to them? You know what, guys? I had the best fucking life. I did all this cool shit. I wrote a book. I sang that song. I did that dance. I ran that marathon if I wanted to run the marathon. I opened a coaching business. I did da-da-da-da-da-da. And you know what? I'm looking forward to guiding you guys into the next life. See you later. Show's over, lights out. Isn't that a better way to exit this realm than doing the opposite? I know how I'm exiting the realm, and I'm saying that to my great-grandchildren. I am so keen to guide you into your lives now. And when I cross over, see you later. I'm out of here. I've achieved everything I wanted to. Yeah. I've got big dreams and big hopes for the future, and I set about achieving every single one of them.
I find it, even as a middle-aged person, we still, well, I'll say I won't say we. I'll say, it's, I find myself thinking about things, doing things, talking to people, doing all sorts of things, which a lot of people don't do because they are, I don't want to say it, but they are programmed. They're doing the 9 to 5. They want to service their mortgage. They want to have their holiday. And then anything that sort of falls outside of that, they either think that, they're not worthy of it, or they're not good enough, or that's not part of what you're supposed to be doing. And so even if the opportunity presents itself, they create a situation where it's not possible,
That's self-sabotage.
Self-sabotaging themselves.
An opportunity presents itself, and then they create a situation subconsciously that blocks them from doing it. And it's usually the person staring back at them in the mirror.
Yeah. And that's really why I wanted to play that video. It's really quite confronting, and it's very dark, but I think it really puts a real perspective for people visually about schooling. And I know a lot of people through the 3-year shit show have taken their children out of school because they've realized that that's not okay. But then, there's all those other things that were in that, that is about conformity and compliance and not being able to express yourself or delve into other things that interest you as a small human. We're talking about small humans, and we're stifling small humans, and then we wonder why we end up with broken adults. Is it any surprise? And that's why I find what you do is really intriguing, being a self-sabotage coach. I'd never heard of this before. I'd come across you, actually, Nathan, a self-sabotage coach, because, as I said, there's so many things we concentrate on in our lives outwardly, but we very rarely come inwardly. We do, but to really understand yourself, it's there's so many things there going on.
This is the thing. I see the universe as a mirror, right? It mirrors us back to our reality. That's just how this universe works, right? If we're putting out their fear, we're getting fear back. We're putting out love, we're getting love back.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is people are refusing to go inward because they're refusing to look at the world truths that are literally slapping them in the face right now.
It is now, yeah.
But the thing is, their own truths, their own intuition, their own voice in the back of their head, the same one I had, which I'll talk about in a minute, they're refusing to look at their own truths. So how can the world truths present themselves to these people if they're refusing to go inward and learn their own? Where are they lying, cheating, stealing? Where are they not showing up for themselves? Well, it's the same thing with the world truths, because the world's lying, cheating, and stealing to you right now if you aren't seeing this yet. You're being lied to about the last 3 years and pretty much since you flew out of the womb. They're stealing your money when you go to work your 9 to 5 every day. It's called tax. Tax is theft. Lying, cheating. Where are they cheating?
Yeah.
Wow. Where are they cheating? Well, where do I start there?
Yeah.
So if you're lying, cheating, and stealing, then the world's lying, cheating, and stealing, then that's the cycle. That's the rat race. Jump off the rat race and go within and learn your own truths. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's painful. But my goodness, when you get out the other side, I'm looking forward to interviewing you on my podcast, because that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
We all have a story. We all compare ourselves to other. I'm on a rant and roll now. We compare ourselves to other people all the time. They're like, oh, but I went through that, but that person had it worse than I ever did. So I'm not going to say because Joe down the road had a tougher childhood than I did. We all have our own experiences. We all have our own story, and it's all unique to us. And that's a beautiful thing. It doesn't matter if Cherie down the road had it worse than you. She may have had it worse than you, but you actually may have had it worse, but you deemed it safe. You deemed it familiar. You deemed it this is the safe thing to do. This was a nice childhood. Well, if you were emotionally abused, you wouldn't even know you were emotionally abused, because you would have deemed it as safe and familiar until you unpack and go, oh, shit, I was emotionally abused. Oh, I might have had it worse than Cherie down the road. But that doesn't matter. I'll still share. You can still share your story. We all have our story. It's all worth sharing. It's all unique to us. But we always compare ourselves to others in terms of, oh, but they had it worse than I did, so I'm not going to say anything. So it happens everywhere.
Gail,
because when I started sharing my story and sharing stuff, well, yeah, I had some family members that had it worse than I did, and I triggered the shit out of them. Of course I did. Yep. Because I was triggering them to go inward, and they refused to go inward because they refused to see the world truths I was also posting online.
Yeah.
So we're in a world of people being triggered all the time. Well, yeah, we are, because people are refusing to go within to learn their own truths. And everyone always says it. It says in the movies, follow your heart, trust your heart. Well, your heart knows the way. But this thing here, the ego, the head, gets in the way of that. Mm-hmm. If you just listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, your whole life will change, because mine did. And I talk about the voice in the back of my head. I want to tell this story. And then, like, every time I would sleep with a woman and then regret it, every time I would pick up the alcohol or something, like, I had this voice in the back of my head all the time saying, Nath, you just got to stop. Just sit with yourself and stop. I was always being told to stop. Whether it was my intuition, future self, me, spirit, I know who this was. And I'm getting to the pointy end of the story. But it got to its breaking point in 2020 when we weren't allowed to go and drink anymore. So I was just like on the health kick then. And this voice got louder. It's like, Nath, you got to stop. Stop treating women this way. Just stop. It's like I lay on a table and do a quantum healing session, and my grandfather's standing right there. I saw him as a 17-year-old when he crossed over. And I said, what are you doing in my kitchen? He said, I haven't actually crossed over yet. I saw your body 12 hours ago, but you're in my kitchen. Like, we're going woo-woo now. That voice in the back of my head was my grandfather's, because he was telling me to listen. Because he had some stuff to tell me, and I listened. It took me 13 years to listen to him, though. He's like, Nate, stop. Nate, stop. Just get yourself clean, get yourself healthy, and stop. It was future me too. Yes, there was a version out there that existed, which is this version now that had already quit all these things. I merged with that guy too and said, I want to be you. I want to be you. I want to download your blueprint. So I walked up to him and hugged him and said, I just want to be you. Because I was in such a dark place. The shining light was my grandfather's, and it was my own, and it was the most beautiful thing when I tapped into that spirit.
You know, one of the really great things this evening, and Gail, I'm just going to pop your comment up again. Exactly the same. We could just put Courage is the Cure, Robin Jackson Stegner, instead of Gail Siobhan there. That's me. I'm really liking everyone's comments. I'm very liking, that's the wrong word. I'm enthralled with everybody's comments this evening, because they're all very different. And because of what you're talking about, Nathan, and this is what one of the things that Courage is Secure and Cafe Lockdown is about. We're free speech defenders, number one, and the other one is about discussion and debate, and that everybody doesn't have to agree with everybody, but the beauty of humanity and how we move forward with our community is that we discuss, we debate, and then walk away as kind, compassionate.
I got a message for the
loving
freedom
beings.
community that I really want to
And
share,
this
actually.
is amazing. Yep.
I believe, just from being in this movement for only the last 3 years, I've got a new set of eyes to this. And I believe that we are too busy focusing on arguing over what this place is, arguing over the truths of the world and different things, arguing over veganism or eating meat, fighting over what this place is flat or round.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck about any of that. The only thing I want for us all is freedom. So why don't we all find common ground? And our common ground's freedom. Let's establish freedom first. Then we can fight over whether we eat meat or not. Then we can fight over round, flat, fucking realm. I know what this place is. I'm not going to put it out there. It's like, let's just establish freedom first and come together. Why are we fighting over all this shit? They want us fighting. They want us in this stuff.
Yep.
Let's just establish freedom first, and then we'll argue about the rest.
Yep.
But let's take our world back.
You just said, we are the creatives of solutions. And I think, where are we? Martin again. Martin's on fire. We create communities which find solutions. I think, this is the wonderful thing about everybody. Anna as well. This is a wonderful thing. And I really enjoy that. Not only are people awakening to what's going on in the programming, the rubbishing, the agendas, all of that stuff, but people are really starting to take an inward look within ourselves because, and you just said it, we can't do that unless we're looking at ourselves as well. How can we ridicule everything out there or try to change stuff out there if we're not doing that within ourselves? And that's really resonated with me today, Nathan, when I've been binge watching your stuff, because as I said, I spend so much time doing things outside of me, and it's I feel really refreshed actually. You need to remind yourself, come back to yourself, because that's where
Mother Earth,
we can spread it.
Mother Earth is shedding her darkness, and that has a ripple effect on all of us.
Yeah.
So she's slapping us in the face right now to go inward. So if you have a heart and an intuition, which we all do, tap into that and listen to it, because Mother Earth's doing it on a worldwide energetic level.
100%.
So let's help shift the world's darkness by shifting our own too.
Wow. Let's help shift the world's darkness by shifting ours as well. That's amazing. Nathan, is there something you would like to add to the stream for everybody before we go out for this evening?
Like a final message?
Yeah.
I think you've just... Our final message? You've sort of... Yeah, final message? Is that what you were going with?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's fine. I can... You sort of cut off there, that's all.
Oh, did I? Oh, his computer said no.
Yeah, I didn't hear you finish, so that's why I said, is it a final word? Or...
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, before we end the stream, is there I think we've... Yeah, is there something you would like to end on for everybody?
Well, there's two things, and I'll share them both quickly, if that's...
Yeah.
I work with youth all the time, and I see how powerful that these souls are. And there's a reason why there's video games, there's porn, there's all these things around right now, because the people ruling or people controlling this stuff know how powerful these souls are, and these souls can change the world. So if you're between the ages of born after 2000 to now, you're pretty fucking powerful, and you can do some pretty cool shit. You really can. I've worked with clients, teenagers, right, that I've literally told them two things, and they've done readings on me, tapped into me without cards or any of this woo-woo stuff, and just said, "Oh, you're feeling a bit sad today, Nath." I'm like, I know if I'm feeling sad today. And then they're seeing their grandmas or their grandpas or their parents. Like, this is super fast, this great awakening. I can see it and I know it. If you've got a child that's a bit disengaged and a bit da-da-da-da-da, I can help them, because I see things they see, I hear things they see. If I had had someone like me as a child telling me that they see and hear things and they feel things, it would be a different childhood for me. There are so many kids out there that can hear and see things, but they're shunted from saying it because society deems it as woo-woo. It's not
I
woo-woo
think
because
that
I hear and see them too.
For the people that watch Courage is Cure and Cafe Locked Out, you all know that my motivation is the small humans. So I really appreciate what you've just said there, Nathan, about appreciating, interacting, communicating, making small humans' existence validated, because a lot of the time small humans' existence aren't validated, particularly by the school system, sometimes by their parents, by their friends, by social media, all this crap. So I really like what you just said there, is that we need the adults that we are talking to right now to extend their arms out and be that person for the small humans, because everything we've been talking about, and particularly this evening, was self-sabotage. If there were those adults in our lives, some of these behaviors that some of us have, not everybody, but some of us have, which then spew over and pour over into our adult life, which makes things difficult. If we just were more open to ourselves as adults and treating children, our children would have much more fruitful young human lives. Is that fair to say, Nathan?
I agree. And if you're listening and watching to this and you're working a 9 to 5, you're drinking coffee, you're drinking alcohol, you're eating a lot of sugar, you're watching shit on TV, you're watching porn, you're playing video games, you're doing something that you know you shouldn't be doing it anyway. Just know that you're not broken. You're working as designed. You're not. That's the first step. Second step, understand and go, well, how am I feeling when I pick up that porn or pick up that bit of junk food or pick up the sugar? How am I feeling? Am I stressed? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Am I sad? Am I frustrated?
Yeah.
Where's that feeling come from? Have that dialogue with yourself and then reach out and ask for help. Because a lot of society has been programmed that help is not okay. Help is not courage or courageous. You know what? It's the opposite. If I hadn't reached out to Jason and reached out to a few other people, mentors in my life, I wouldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't done that. For people that are a little bit older, the help program's massive. They don't want to ask for help. I can do it all myself. You can't do this yourself. Well, you might be able to. It's going to take a lot longer. Asking for help is not weak. It's not. You're not being less than, you're being more than. It's courageous, it's bold, it's beautiful, it's magical, it's wonderful, it's life-changing. My trajectory changed in an instant when I asked for help.
Amen.
So if you're in that place now where you're doing this on a daily basis, just know you're not broken, you're working as designed. And any program can be changed in a matter of minutes. If you type into YouTube and you watch Max Major, America's Got Talent, you'll see he did 5 repetitions and he had Howie drawing a sun, and then he had the whole audience drawing suns through 5 repetitions of suns in the first 5 minutes of the video. If you've had 5, people have had imprints of alcohol and all this stuff, a lot longer than 5, that's a lot of repetitions. But just know you can reprogram yourself. You can change. You can be better. You are better. You are worthy. You are enough. It's okay to ask for help. If someone out there is struggling right now.
You're amazing, and I love that as an end message, is that ask for help, and we can't do everything alone. We just can't. No. And so I really like that end message there. I just want to read Martin's comment because he's on fire tonight. You may need to sit with the freedom fighters, stand up for all of us. They need to vent. Also, 100%, Julie. So Nathan, I would love to come on your podcast, and I would love to have you back again. Just absolutely
anytime.
Fantastic conversation. You're an amazing human being.
Thank you.
Can you tell everybody quickly, I have put it in the description, where's the best place, for people to find you?
Well, they can jump on my website, teenageselfsabotage.com. I also have Telegram as well, I think it's NathF94. I've got Instagram, all the socials, but I am also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts as well. So they can find my podcast on audio platforms too, and on Rumble. But the best place to find me would be my website. Jump on there. Everything's there. You can, all my links are there. My podcast is there. I actually write blogs too. I've written about 45 blogs now. There's some really awesome free information there for people as well. And I've opened myself up. There's some really personal blogs on there. So go and have a read. Go and check out what I do and reach out and ask for help. Even if it's not from me, just reach out and ask for help from someone that may have been where you've been and watch your life change. I just want to see people's life changes, because then that means our lives change and the whole earth and the whole humanity's life changes when everyone starts changing, because we are the change.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've put most of your links in the description, but I'll go ahead and put them on Courage is Secure on Facebook. And tomorrow I'll stream this to Rumble. For any of your friends that aren't Twitter or Facebook users, head along to Rumble and share this with your friends. I really thank you very much for joining me this evening, Nathan. It's just amazing. And thanks to everybody for your wonderful comments. It's been fantastic. Yes, Martin, I'll put it on Courage is Secure on Facebook and put all of Nathan's things there. Yes, Jan, I will. Jan. And so this evening we are going to go out with one of my beautiful friends here in Western Australia, Kylie Michelle Holdham. She is one of the beautiful women that has sang Mother's Cry at the rally, and she has played this some time ago, her song Remember Who You Are. She's an amazing lady, and the pictures are brought to you by the Healthy Leper photographer, another fantastic West Australian. So once again, Nathan, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, and what a fantastic conversation. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
No
right,
worries.
I'm going to add to the stage, everybody, and thank you all for your comments, and we will see you later.
Trust in me, remember who you are, guiding, remembering the spark. Care for me, you're the only one who can. Loving me, remember who you are, connect with me, that spark that's deep within. Remembering those whispers that you hear, nourishing those gifts that you do bear, grounding in the truths that have appeared.